Readers, we are starting our work with our quick write in the packet. So we're on our next page in the packet with our quick write question for pages 23 to 45. Have you ever been to a circus? If so, what did you think of it? If not, what do you think it would be like? So scholars, looking at the packet, right, it looks like this. Our quick writes are going to take a moment. Have you ever been to a circus? So let's start with just that and answer that first. So you take a moment, I'll take a moment, and answer just that question. I have been to a circus. So then, if so, what did you think of it? If not, what do you think it would be like? So if you've not been to a circus, you would answer that second part, right? Because you've not been. But if you have been, what did you think of it? Right? And why, right? Make sure you're writing why, right? Don't just write like I liked it or I didn't like it. Why? Think of the word because in there. Right? So you may want to pause for a moment, finish your quick write, and then press play to continue. So now that you've done your quick write, let's take a look at today's 4 vocabulary words. Lush means luxuriant and rich, jungly. So like a rich forest, right, would have a lot of leaves, be very full of leaves and very thick, right? Lush. Right? If someone has lush hair, right, it's a lot of hair, right? It's very thick, luxuriant. And then our next word is precision. If you do something with precision, you do it with accuracy. You're very accurate. It's very correct. If you're working on your schoolwork with precision, you're being very accurate, very careful. Right? Precision comes from the word precise. And then our last 2 words are actually used to describe Bob in these chapters, wily and undaunted. So wily means shrewd, clever, sharp. If you've ever watched the Roadrunner cartoon, right, Wile E. Coyote is the coyote's name, right, because Wile E. Coyote, well, he thinks he's very clever, very sharp, very shrewd, right, sneaky, but he does not seem to actually be if you've watched the show. And undaunted means you're unafraid, fearless, right? You're not afraid of something, so you're facing those things. So as you're reading today or listening to me read, make sure you're paying attention to Bob and think, is he wily? Is he undaunted, right? Is he unafraid? Is he clever? Is he sharp? So scholars, let's do a little work with those 4 words before we continue. So that's our vocabulary section. So fill in the blank with the correct vocabulary word. So we're trying to figure out the right word for the blank. The blank fox outsmarted everyone once again. So this word outsmarted, right, is probably pretty important. It does seem like undaunted could go there, right? But I think because he outsmarted, right, makes me think if someone outsmarts you, they were being clever or sharp. So the wily fox outsmarted everyone. The second one, the blank rainforest was so green, moist, and filled with many interesting plants and creatures. So the rainforest was green, Moist, filled. Oh, this word jungly makes me think lush, huh? The lush rainforest. You think of rainforest as being very lush, rich with plant life, very jungly. So, scholars, take a moment, do those last two vocabulary questions, right? See if you can figure out those words. So, press pause for a moment and take care of that. All right, now that you've done that, today's reading. So, I am going to read 23 to 40 if you'd like to follow along with me. If you want to read it with your family, you can do that and skip ahead to the next part of the video. But if you want to follow along with me, listen to me, I'm going to read 23 to 40, and then we'll look at a little something else in the packet, and then you'll have a bit of work to finish on your own. Readers, I'm on page 23. TV. My visitors are often surprised when they see the TV Mac put in my domain. They seem to find it odd, the sight of a gorilla staring at tiny humans in a box. Sometimes I wonder, though, isn't the way they stare at me, sitting in my tiny box, just as strange? My TV is old. It doesn't always work, and sometimes days will go by before anyone remembers to turn it on. I'll watch anything, but I'm particularly fond of cartoons with their bright jungle colors. I especially enjoy it when someone slips on a banana peel. Bob, my dog friend, loves TV almost as much as I do. He prefers to watch professional bowling and cat food commercials. Bob and I have seen many romance movies too. In a romance, there is much hugging and sometimes face licking. I have yet to see a single romance starring a gorilla. We also enjoy old Western movies. In a Western, someone always says, "This town ain't big enough for the both of us, Sheriff." In a Western, you can tell who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And the good guys always win. Bob says Westerns are nothing like real life. The Nature Show. I have been in my domain for 9,855 days. Alone. For a while, when I was young and foolish, I thought I was the last gorilla on Earth. I tried not to dwell on it. Still, it's hard to stay upbeat when you think there are no more of you. Then one night, after I watched a movie about men in black hats with guns and feeble-minded horses, a different show came on. It was not a cartoon, not a romance, not a western. I saw a lush forest. I heard birds murmuring. The grass moved. The trees rustled. Then I saw him. He was bit threadbare and scrawny, and not as good looking as I am, to be honest. But sure enough, he was a gorilla. As suddenly as he'd appeared, the gorilla vanished, and in his place was a scruffy white animal called, I learned, a polar bear. And then a chubby water creature called a manatee, and then another animal, and another. All night I sat wondering about the gorilla I'd glimpsed. Where did he live? Would he ever come to visit? If there was a he somewhere, could there be a she as well? Or was it just the two of us in all the world, trapped in our own separate boxes? Stella, page 27. Remember, follow along, please. Stella says she is sure I will see another real live gorilla someday. And I believe her because she is even older than I am and has eyes like black stars and knows more than I will ever know. Did you catch the simile, scholars? Eyes like black stars, right? Her eyes aren't actually stars. It lets us know how they're shimmering, right? Twinkling, but they're black. Stella is a mountain. Next to her, I am a rock. And Bob is a grain of sand. Oh, and then, scholars, we have a metaphor, right? Because Stella isn't actually a mountain, and Ivan's not actually a rock, and Bob's not actually a grain of sand, but the author's letting us know about their sizes, right? Stella's big, right? Like a mountain. And then compared to Stella being a mountain, right? Ivan's the size of a rock, right? So not as big as Stella, but solid. Bob's a grain of sand. So Bob is much smaller compared to Ivan and especially to Stella. So that's a metaphor, right? Because it doesn't use like or as, it says Stella is a mountain. So comparing Stella to the mountain. Every night, when the stores close and the moon washes the world with milky light, Stella and I talk. We don't have much in common, but we have enough. We are huge and alone, and we both love yogurt raisins. Sometimes Stella tells stories of her childhood, of leafy canopies hidden by mist, and the busy songs of flowing water. Unlike me, she recalls every detail of her past. So now we know Ivan doesn't really remember his past very well. Stella loves the moon with its untroubled smile. I love the feel of the sun on my belly. She says, "It's quite a belly, my friend." And I say, "Thank you, and so is yours." We talk, but not too much. Elephants, like gorillas, do not waste words. Stella used to perform in a large and famous circus, and she still does some of those tricks for our show. During one stunt, Stella stands on her hind legs, while Snickers jumps on her head. It's hard to stand on your hind legs when you weigh more than 40 men. If you are a circus elephant and you stand on your hind legs while a dog jumps on your head, you get a treat. If you do not, the claw stick comes swinging. Claw stick. Let's kind of keep that in our minds. Think about what that would be. Elephant hide is thick as bark on an ancient tree, but a claw stick can pierce it like a leaf. So I heard similes in there, right? Elephant hide is thick as bark. So right, the hide isn't actually bark, but it's thick. It lets us know how thick it is, right? Think of tree bark and how thick that can be, right? But the claw stick can pierce that skin like it's a leaf, right? So think how easy it is to poke into a leaf. So the claw stick can actually poke into that elephant hide. Once Stella saw a trainer hit a bull elephant with a claw stick. A bull is like a silverback, noble, contained, calm like a cobra is calm. When the claw stick caught in the bull's flesh, He tossed the trainer into the air with his tusk. The man flew, Stella said, like an ugly bird. She never saw the bull again. Now wait, before we turn the page, scholars, the man flew like an ugly bird. So the man wasn't actually a bird, so there's another simile, right? It uses the word like. So it lets us know, right, this man is flying, right? It's been tossed through the air. So he's not actually flying, and he's probably flailing about, right? So it would look like a very ugly, strange bird flying. Page 30. Stella's trunk. Stella's trunk is a miracle. She can pick up a single peanut with elegant precision, tickle a passing mouse, tap the shoulder of a dozing keeper. Her trunk is remarkable, but still it can't unlatch the door of her tumbled-down domain. The circling Stella's legs are long-ago scars from the chains she wore as a youth, so when she was younger. Her bracelets, she calls them. When she worked at the famous circus, Stella had to balance on a pedestal for her most difficult trick. One day, she fell off and injured her foot. When she went lame and lagged behind the other elephants, the circus sold her to Mac. So, did you catch how she injured her foot? So she fell off the pedestal and she got hurt. So when you're lame, remember, you can't, when her leg is lame, right, her foot is hurt, so she can't walk as well with that foot. So it's slowing her down and making her not walk as well. Stella's foot never healed completely. She limps when she walks, and sometimes her foot gets infected when she stands in one place for too long. Last winter, Stella's foot swelled to twice its normal size. She had a fever, and she lay on the damp, cold floor of her domain for 5 days. They were very long days. Even now, I'm not sure she's completely better. She never complains, though, so it's hard to know. At the Big Top Mall, no one bothers with iron shackles. A bristly rope tied to a bolt in the floor is all that's required. They think I'm too old to cause trouble, Stella says. Old age, she says, is a powerful disguise. So what she's saying is, right, they think she's too old to cause trouble, but could she actually cause trouble? So she's disguised, right? They think her old age is making her not able to cause trouble, but she could if she wanted to. Page 32, a plan. It's been 2 days since anyone's come to visit. Mac is in a bad mood. He says we are losing money hand over fist. He says he is going to sell the whole lot of us. When Thelma, a blue and yellow macaw, demands, "Kiss me, big boy," for the 3rd time in 10 minutes, Mac throws a soda can at her. Thelma's wings are clipped so that she can't fly, but she still can hop. She leaps aside just in the nick of time. "Pucker up," she says with a shrill whistle. Mac stomps to his office and slams the door shut. Do you all understand why he's upset? So it's been 2 days since anyone's come to Big Top Mall. So are they making any money? No. So when he says losing money hand over fist, right, it means he's losing a lot of money, like losing more money than coming in. I wonder if my visitors have grown tired of me. Maybe if I learn a trick or two, it will help. Humans do seem to enjoy watching me eat, and luckily I am always hungry. I am a gifted eater. A silverback must eat 45 pounds of food a day if he wants to stay a silverback. 45 pounds of fruit and leaves and seeds and stems and bark and vines and rotten wood. Also, I enjoy the occasional insect. I am going to try to eat more. Maybe then we will get more visitors. Tomorrow, I will eat 50 pounds of food. Maybe even 55. That should make Mac happy. Bob. I explain my plan to Bob. Ivan, he says, trust me on this one. The problem is not your appetite. He hops onto my chest and licks my chin, checking for leftovers. Bob is a stray, which means he does not have a permanent address. He is so speedy, so wily, that mall workers long ago gave up trying to catch him. Bob can sneak into cracks and crevices like a tracked rat. He lives well off the ends of hot dogs that he pulls from the trash. For dessert, he laps up spilled lemonade and splattered ice cream cones. I've tried to share my food with Bob, but he is a picky eater and says he prefers to hunt for himself. Bob is tiny, wiry, and fast, like a barking squirrel. Oh, did you catch another simile? Right? Bob's not actually a squirrel, right? He's a dog, but he's tiny, wiry, and fast. So think if you see squirrels right out, right? They're pretty fast. They're wiry, meaning they can sneak in and out of spots really easily. And he barks, of course, so he's like a barking squirrel. He is nut-colored and big-eared. His tail moves like weeds in the wind, spiraling, dancing. Bob's tail makes me dizzy and confused. It has meanings within meanings, like human words. I am sad, it says. I am happy, it says. Beware, I may be tiny, but my teeth are sharp. So think about if you have a dog, scholars, or another pet. Can your pet's tail tell you, right, how the dog is feeling? I know I can tell with Toby and how his tail is. Gorillas don't have any use for tails. Our feelings are uncomplicated. Our rumps are unadorned. So, meaning they don't have tails. Bob used to have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. Humans tossed them out of a truck onto the freeway when they were a few weeks old. Bob rolled into a ditch. The others did not. His first night on the highway, Bob slept in the icy mud of the ditch. When he woke, he was so cold that his legs would not bend for an hour. The next night, Bob slept under some dirty hay near the Big Top Mall garbage bins. The following night, Bob found the spot in the corner of my domain where the glass is broken. I dreamed that I'd eaten a furry donut, and when I woke in the dark, I discovered a tiny puppy snoring on top of my belly. It had been so long since I'd felt the comfort of another's warmth that I wasn't sure what to do. Not that I hadn't had visitors. Mac had been in my domain, of course, and many other keepers. I'd seen my share of rats zip past, and the occasional wayward sparrow had fluttered in through a hole in my ceiling, but they never stayed long. I didn't move all night, for fear of waking Bob. So scholars, before I continue, and you'll hear this again during our study, but the one and only Ivan, there's now a sequel to it, the one and only Bob. So you get to know more about Bob's story, right? The chapter we just read goes into a little more detail of his past and then even back to his current time. So you and your family may want to look at, right, checking it out at the library, probably getting on the wait list at the library, maybe looking for it in a book order online if you're interested, but maybe wait to read it until after we're finished with the one and only Ivan. But now might be a good time to get on the list or get it ordered. Page 37. Wild. Once I asked Bob why he didn't want a home. Humans, I'd noticed, seemed to be irrationally fond of dogs, and I could see why a puppy would be easier to cuddle with than, say, a gorilla. Everywhere is my home, Bob answered. I am a wild beast, my friend, untamed and undaunted. Remember our vocabulary word. I told Bob he could work in the shows like Snickers, the poodle who rides Stella. Bob said Snickers sleeps on a pink pillow in Mac's office. He said she eats foul-smelling meat from a can. Right, so she eats dog food. He made a face. His lips curled, revealing tiny needles of teeth. Poodles, he said, are parasites. Picasso. Mac gives me a fresh crayon, a yellow one, and 10 pieces of paper. Time to earn your keep, Picasso, he mutters. I wonder who this Picasso is. Do you all know who that is? Does he have a tire swing like me? Does he ever eat his crayons? Do you think Picasso had a tire swing or ate crayons? I bet he did not. I know I have lost my magic, so I try my very best. I clutch the crayon and think. I scan my domain. What is yellow? A banana. I draw a banana. The paper tears, but only a little. I lean back and Mac picks up the drawing. Another day, another scribble, he says. 1 down, 9 to go. What else is yellow? I wonder, scanning my domain. I draw another banana, and then I draw 8 more. Page 40. 3 visitors. 3 visitors are here. A woman, a boy, a girl. I strut across my domain for them. I dangle from my tire swing. I eat 3 banana peels in a row. The boy spits at my window. The girl throws a handful of pebbles. Sometimes I'm glad the glass is there. Right? Because otherwise, they would have been spitting at him and throwing those pebbles at him. So it's a good thing for him the glass was there. All right, scholars, you are in charge of finishing. Read 41 through 45 on your own, right? So that you finish that group of pages for today. Remember, you have a few pages on your own to read today at the end of our work. But before we continue, or as we continue, we're going to look at the inferring question in your packet. So it says, let's look at the inferring question in today's homework. How do we write a direct quote to answer this question? So scholars, we are going to be starting to work with writing direct quotes, which means actual words from the book, from our reading, to support an answer. So let's get going on that. So I'm looking at this question right here, number 3, that we can work on together. So on the lines below, write one quote from the text that supports the following sentence. Stella is a good friend to Ivan. So we want to go back to our text, scholars, and I would say let's go to the chapter that we read about Stella. So I'm going to page 27. So take a moment, go to page 27. Let's see if we can find something there that ties to, that shows us, right, evidence that Stella is a good friend to Ivan. So are you looking through page 27, 28? I have found a couple of things that I think we could use. See if you found either of these. So I found on about the middle of page 27, every night when the stores close and the moon washes the world with milky light, Stella and I talk. So they talk with each other, right? That's showing she's a good friend. But then on page 28, right toward the top, she says, "It is quite a belly, my friend." And I say, "Thank you, and so is yours." So, right, she compliments his belly. That seems like something a friend would do as well. So, scholars, maybe we should write one of those. Let's do a quick vote. Who thinks we should write the one about Stella and Ivan talking? Who thinks we should write the one about quite a belly? All right, very close vote, but we're going to write about the belly. So remember, we're writing a direct quote from the text. So we're going to write on page 28, it says, she says, it's quite a belly, my friend. And the sentence keeps going, right? But I've been saying thank you and so is yours isn't showing her being a good friend. That's showing him being a good friend back. So I think we're okay to stop right at that part, right? That's a little confusing. We're putting quotes around the part from the book, but then we're also putting quotes around what Stella is saying. So that's a little bit confusing, but that's okay. All right. So, scholars, I'm going to take you back to the slideshow for just a moment. So, your homework is to read 41 to 45. So, finish that little bit of reading that's left. And then you want to finish both pages in your packet and then be sure to upload the photos of your packet pages. Remember, there are 2 of them. So let's take a quick look at that. So you need to upload a photo of this side, of this page, and of this page. Right? Those both go with today's work. Now, when you work here on this comprehension question, describe Ivan's 2 closest friends, Stella and Bob. Write 2 things you learned or know now about Stella and 2 things you know about Bob. And then this last one, why, right, we're analyzing why is Mac in a bad mood. So I'm already thinking, scholars, right? I know I'm going to use words from the question. Mac is in a bad mood. Oh, here comes Mr. Long's favorite word, because, and then finish that, right? Think about what did we read, and if you were listening to my part, I mentioned what he was mad about. All right. Good luck with your work, scholars. I look forward to seeing your 2 pages of work submitted so I can see your thoughts on the characters. Thanks for joining me again today.